Most people buying eggs this week will grab the carton they always grab, check that nothing's cracked, and move on in about 4 seconds. What they won't do is read the label. And that's exactly what the egg industry is counting on, because the words printed on that carton, cage-free, free-range, organic, natural, farm, fresh, have been so systematically stretched, diluted, and legally redefined that most of them no longer mean what any reasonable person standing in a grocery aisle would assume they mean. We tested 11 brands. We looked at the certifications, the sourcing, the actual farming conditions, and the yolk. Most of them failed. Why eggs are harder to buy right than anyone admits. Here's the thing nobody tells you at the start. Eggs should be the simplest item in your cart. One ingredient, one animal, one job. And yet the egg aisle has somehow become one of the most deliberately confusing 4 feet of real estate in the entire grocery store. There are terms on egg cartons that sound regulated and aren't. Terms that are regulated but set a bar so low the regulation is almost insulting. And terms that genuinely mean something but get buried under so much other marketing language that they lose their signal completely. Let's go through the ones you'll actually encounter. Cage-free. This one sounds like a meaningful upgrade, and compared to conventional caged eggs, it technically is, but only barely. Cage-free means hens are not kept in battery cages. What it does not mean is that they have outdoor access. Cage-free hens can legally spend their entire lives inside a crowded industrial barn, never once seeing daylight, with roughly 1 square foot of floor space per bird. 1 square foot. Go find a piece of paper and stand on it. That's the cage-free standard. Free range adds the requirement that hens have access to the outdoors. The USDA does not define how much outdoor space, for how long, or what that space has to look like. A small door at the end of a barn that opens onto a concrete pad technically satisfies the free range requirement. Most hens in free range operations never use it. The door exists. The experience doesn't. Organic means the hens were fed certified organic feed with no synthetic pesticides or antibiotics. It also requires outdoor access, but runs into the exact same problem as free range. The access requirement is vague enough that industrial operations can satisfy it without fundamentally changing how the birds live. Pasture-raised is the term that actually describes what most people picture when they imagine any of the above. Hens on grass, with meaningful outdoor space, behaving like chickens. The USDA does not regulate this term at all. It's essentially a marketing claim unless paired with a third-party certification that defines and enforces a specific acreage standard. Natural means nothing. Legally, almost every food can be called natural. Do not let this word do any work in your purchasing decision. Now you have the framework. Every brand we're about to go through is going to look very different once you know what the words on their carton are actually allowed to mean. The yolk test and what it actually tells you. Before we get into the brands, here's something you can do tonight that will tell you more about your current eggs than the carton ever will. Crack 1 egg onto a flat plate. No pan, no oil, no heat. Just a plate. Look at 3 things. First, the yolk color. A deep, almost orange yolk comes from a hen that spent meaningful time outdoors eating insects, grass, and a varied diet. A pale yellow yolk, the color of a legal pad, comes from a hen that ate industrially formulated corn and soy feed and not much else. Yolk color is diet made visible. Second, the yolk height. A yolk from a genuinely healthy hen sits up tall and holds its shape on the plate. A yolk that spreads flat immediately, that almost melts into the white, is telling you something about the nutritional profile and freshness of that egg, regardless of what the label says. Third, the egg white structure. A quality egg has 2 visible layers of white, a thick gel-like layer directly around the yolk and a thinner outer layer. An egg with only 1 thin, watery white layer is either old, from a nutritionally compromised hen, or both. This test takes 30 seconds. It's more honest than any certification on the front of the carton. Run it on whatever's in your fridge right now, and then come back to this list with what you found. Number 11, great value, Walmart. Walmart sells more groceries than any other retailer in America. Their great value eggs are in more American refrigerators than any other single brand. And they are, without any meaningful competition, the worst option on this entire list. Great value conventional eggs come from hens in battery cages, 67 square inches per bird. That's smaller than a standard sheet of printer paper. The hen lives her entire productive life in that space, unable to spread her wings, unable to turn around comfortably, unable to perform a single natural behavior that chickens engage in when given the physical space to do so. The result shows up on the plate with complete consistency. Great value yolks are pale, flat. They spread immediately on contact with any surface. The whites are thin and watery, with none of the structural integrity you see in eggs from birds living in meaningful conditions. They taste like the agricultural equivalent of a stock photo of an egg. The nutrition gap is real and documented. Eggs from hens with outdoor access and varied diets consistently test higher in omega-3 fatty acids, vitamin D, vitamin E, and beta-carotene than eggs from conventionally caged hens. The specific figures vary by study, but the directional finding is consistent across the research. Confinement produces a nutritionally inferior egg. Walmart generated over $600 billion in revenue last year. Yes, $600 billion. With a B, I had to sit with that number for a moment too. Transitioning their egg supply chain to meaningful animal welfare standards is not a financial constraint at that scale. It is a margin decision. The $1.50 you saved on a dozen eggs reflects a choice the corporation made, not a limitation they're working against. The great value label does not claim anything it cannot legally back up. There's no misleading language here. This is a company telling you exactly what it's selling by charging exactly what it's charging. The problem is that most people grabbing this carton believe eggs are eggs. They aren't. And the gap between what's in this carton and what's possible starts at the very bottom of this list. Number 10, Kirkland Signature, Costco. Costco has built one of the most powerful consumer trust narratives in retail history. The Kirkland Signature label has become a genuine signal of quality at scale in categories from olive oil to coffee to clothing. People extend that trust to eggs without examining whether it was earned there. Kirkland Signature cage-free eggs. The cage-free claim is real. Hens are not in battery cages. That's the upgrade from great value, and it is a real one. Here's where it stops. Cage-free at the volume Costco requires enormous volume, means large-scale industrial barn operations, tens of thousands of birds in a single facility, 1 square foot of floor space per hen. No outdoor access, no natural light, no pasture, no grass, no insects. Just a very large building with a very large number of birds, and the cage-free label on the carton that results. The yolk on a Kirkland cage-free egg is noticeably better than great value. Slightly deeper in color, slightly more structured. The feed program that replaces caged conditions is a step forward. But the omega-3 content, the vitamin D levels, the nutritional profile that comes from actual outdoor access and varied foraging, none of that is present here because none of those conditions are present for the birds. There's also a volume problem worth naming. Buying 60 eggs at once doesn't mean you bought better eggs. It means you bought a lot of the same eggs. Freshness dating on large warehouse club packages can sometimes reflect the realities of high volume turnover in ways that aren't obvious from the packaging. Eggs that have been sitting in a cold chain for longer than most consumers would assume are still legal to sell within the regulated window. Kirkland Signature is a genuine upgrade over conventional caged eggs. It is not, in any honest analysis, the quality statement that the Costco brand mythology has led most shoppers to assume it is. Number 9, Simple Truth. Organic. Kroger's Simple Truth line is one of the most successful private label wellness brands in American grocery retail. Simple Truth Organic has USDA organic certification. The feed is clean, no synthetic pesticides, no antibiotics. The hens that laid these eggs were not fed the industrial grain cocktail that runs through conventional egg production. That's real, that matters. And it's also approximately where the good news ends. USDA organic certification requires outdoor access. What it does not require is meaningful outdoor access. The USDA's own guidelines on this have been the subject of ongoing regulatory debate for years, including a proposed rule in 2017 that would have significantly strengthened the outdoor space requirements for organic egg operations. That rule was withdrawn before it took effect. What remained is the existing standard. Some outdoor access undefined in terms of space, duration, or quality. Large organic egg operations can satisfy this requirement with a small porch attached to an industrial barn that the overwhelming majority of birds in that barn will never reach, because the barn is too crowded and the porch is too small. Simple Truth organic eggs carry better nutritional credentials than Great Value or Kirkland by virtue of the feed program. The yolk is somewhat deeper, the taste has more character. But the conditions those hens lived in are not meaningfully different from the cage-free operations below them on this list. And the organic premium you paid at the register is funding a certification system that has not kept pace with what that certification implies. Number 8, Golden Aldi. I'll be honest with you. Gold Hen is the most difficult brand on this list to evaluate cleanly, and not because the product is especially complicated. It's because Aldi has structured their sourcing in a way that makes it genuinely hard to know what you're actually buying. Gold Hen is Aldi's private label egg brand. Aldi does not own farms. Aldi does not operate processing facilities. Aldi writes supply contracts, and those contracts go to producers who can meet their price point and volume requirements. The producer behind the Gold Hen label can and does change, and Aldi does not publish information about which farms are supplying which markets at which times. What that means practically is that the Gold Hen carton in your hand is sourced from a facility you cannot identify, verified by a supply chain you cannot trace, and produced under standards that reflect whoever won the latest contract rather than a consistent, documented farming philosophy. The conventional Gold Hen eggs are battery caged. The cage-free variety improves on that in the specific limited way that cage-free always does. Neither carries third-party welfare certification. Neither discloses a named farm source. Gold Hen's price is genuinely competitive. For a household managing a tight grocery budget, there's a reasonable argument for buying them. That argument works better if you understand what you're buying: anonymous source eggs from an opaque supply chain at a price that reflects exactly that, not a deal that beats the market, a product with a sourcing story that the company has decided you don't need access to. Number 7, Eggland's Best. Eggland's Best is the most recognized egg brand in America by a significant margin, the red EB stamp on the shell. The nutrition claims on the front of the carton. The decades of advertising that have made this carton feel like the responsible, informed choice for health-conscious shoppers, reaching past the generic store brand. Here's what's actually behind the stamp. Eggland's Best is not a farm. It's a licensing program. Independent farms pay to join the Eggland's Best network, follow their proprietary feed program, a vegetarian diet with added vitamins and omega-3s, and submit to their inspection standards. The farms themselves range widely in size, conditions, and practices. The EB stamp certifies that the feed program was followed. It does not certify meaningful outdoor access. It does not certify pasture. It does not certify that the hen who laid the egg in your hand ever saw the sun. The nutrition claims are where this gets particularly worth examining. Eggland's Best markets their eggs as having significantly more vitamin D, vitamin B12, and omega-3 fatty acids than ordinary eggs. Independent testing has confirmed that the feed-driven nutritional enhancement is real. These eggs do test better than conventional eggs on certain nutritional markers. What the marketing doesn't address is that pasture-raised eggs from hens with genuine outdoor access and a varied diet consistently test better than Eggland's Best on those same markers. Without a proprietary feed program, without a licensing fee built into the price, and without the gap between what the stamp implies and what the conditions actually look like, you are paying a premium for a nutrition upgrade that is real but incomplete, delivered by a marketing system that has been more successful at building the perception of quality than at verifying the conditions that produce it. Number 6, Pete and Jerry's Organic. Pete and Jerry's is the brand that knows exactly who it's talking to, the illustrated carton, the family farm photography, the story about small New England farms and multi-generational agricultural relationships. Every design decision on that carton is aimed at the consumer who already reads labels, already cares, already wants to feel connected to where their food comes from. For a long time, the product backed up the story reasonably well. USDA Organic Certified, Certified Humane Verified, a genuine network of small family farms with real welfare standards above the conventional floor. In 2021, Pete and Jerry's was acquired by a private equity firm. That fact is not on the carton. What private equity acquisition means for a brand built on small farm sourcing is a question worth asking. Private equity is not in the business of preserving founding philosophies. It's in the business of identifying scale opportunities and margin expansion. Those two priorities have a specific relationship with the kind of sourcing network that makes Pete and Jerry's the product it was when the story on the carton was written. The certified humane certification remains in place. That standard is third-party verified and has real teeth. The organic certification remains. These are meaningful protections. What's worth watching, and what the carton won't tell you, is whether the farm network that produces these eggs today reflects the same sourcing relationships and scale constraints it did before the acquisition. Private equity doesn't buy brands like Pete and Jerry's to keep them small. Number 5, Vital Farms. Vital Farms is the most visible pasture-raised egg brand in American retail. The yellow carton, the 8 square feet per hen outdoor space standard, the B Corp certification, the language about hens living as hens are meant to live. At $8 to $9 a dozen in most markets, it's the most expensive mainstream option most shoppers will encounter outside a farmer's market. The pasture-raised standard is genuine. 8 square feet per hen is an actual acreage commitment verified by third-party auditors. That's meaningfully different from the cage-free and free-range operations below it on this list. The hens are on grass. The yolks are deeply orange. The whites hold structure. The eggs taste different in a way that's immediately obvious and not subtle. So why isn't Vital Farms number 1? 2 reasons. First, scale. Vital Farms has grown significantly as a public company. That growth requires more farms, more birds, and more supply chain coordination. Maintaining consistent welfare standards across a rapidly expanding farm network is structurally harder than maintaining them across a small, stable one. Independent welfare audits have occasionally surfaced compliance questions at farms within the Vital Farms network. Nothing that invalidates the brand's overall commitment, but worth knowing when you're paying $9 for 12 eggs. Second, and this is a real thing that real people have noticed, sometimes the Vital Farms carton sits on a warm shelf longer than the premium price implies it should. Freshness and distribution consistency have been recurring consumer complaints. Not universal, not catastrophic, But when you're paying nearly $1 per egg, the expectation of consistent freshness is part of what you're paying for. Vital Farms is a genuinely good product. It belongs near the top of this list. It just doesn't belong at the top. Number 4, Happy Egg CO. Happy Egg is the British import that figured out American grocery shelf psychology with remarkable precision. The bright yellow carton, the hens that look, frankly, cheerful, almost suspiciously cheerful if you're paying attention. The free range claim front and center. It's designed to communicate joy, and it works. People feel good grabbing it. Happy Egg's free range standard requires 4 square feet of outdoor space per hen. That's a real specific number, and it's 4 times better than the vague USDA free range standard that requires no defined acreage at all. Happy Egg also submits to third-party auditing to verify that standard. Here's where the gap lives. 4 square feet is a real improvement. It is not pasture. It is not the 8 square feet that Vital Farms delivers. And the interior barn conditions, which are not the feature Happy Egg leads with in their marketing, are what most of the hens experience most of the time. The outdoor access is genuine. The outdoor experience is limited by the math of how many birds are in each facility and how much of the day they actually spend outside versus inside. Happy Egg produces an egg with a noticeably better yolk than anything in the bottom half of this list. The taste is real. The free range claim is backed by an actual standard. This brand is doing something genuinely better than most of what surrounds it on the shelf. It's just not doing as much as the happy hens on the carton suggest. Number 3, Nellie's Free Range. Nellie's is the brand that earns its place on this list quietly. No aggressive marketing, no B Corp press releases, no founder redemption story. Just a certified humane free-range designation, a family farm network based in New England, and a product that consistently outperforms its price point when you crack it open. Certified humane free-range is a more demanding standard than USDA free-range. It requires 2 square feet of outdoor space per hen during the outdoor season, defined living conditions inside the barn, and audited compliance by an independent third party. That's a real, enforceable standard with real consequences for farms that fail to meet it. The Nellie's network is built around independent family farms rather than large industrial operations, which is the structural reason the welfare standards are achievable at consistent scale. Smaller farms with owners who have their names and reputations attached to the product behave differently from anonymous contract operations at industrial volume. The yolks are golden orange. The whites are structured. These eggs hold together in the pan, taste clean and genuinely egg forward, and come in a carton that isn't trying to oversell you on anything it can't back up. The one legitimate question mark is sourcing consistency across the farm network. Nellie's sources from multiple farms, and while the certified humane auditing provides a meaningful floor, farm-to-farm variation in conditions and feed quality can produce some inconsistency in the final product. It's not a disqualifying concern. It's the honest reality of a distributed farm network operating at retail scale. Nellie's is the best value-to-quality ratio on this entire list. Remember that for when we get to the buying guide at the end. Number 2, Alexandra Family Farm. Here's where the list changes category. Everything below. Alexandra Family Farm is operating within the conventional egg industry's framework, either meeting it, slightly exceeding it, or falling well short of it. Alexandra Family Farm is operating under a different framework entirely. Regenerative Organic Certified. This is the standard above USDA Organic, above Certified Humane, above Pasture-Raised. Regenerative Organic Certification, introduced in 2018, requires pasture-raised animal welfare standards, organic feed, and, this is the part that separates it from everything else on this list, verified soil health practices that actively improve the land the hens live on over time. Alexandra's hens graze on rotationally managed pasture on the family's Northern California farm. The mob grazing system moves birds to fresh sections of pasture regularly, preventing overgrazing, rebuilding soil biology, and sequestering carbon in the process. The farm is not just avoiding harm, it is measurably improving the land it operates on. That is a genuinely different thing from any other claim on any other carton in this video. The eggs express this immediately. The yolks are a color that stops people the first time they crack one. Deep amber orange, almost alarming if you're used to grocery store eggs. Yolk height that holds its shape for minutes after cracking. Whites that structure visibly in two distinct layers. These eggs taste different in a way that makes you realize what you'd been missing. Alexandra family. Farm eggs are available at Whole Foods, some regional natural grocers, and directly online. They cost more than Vital Farms. They are worth every cent of the difference. The only reason this isn't number one is a practical one. Availability and price make this a special purchase for most households rather than a weekly grocery reality. Number one, Handsome Brook Farm. Handsome Brook Farm is the brand that figured out how to deliver what Alexandra Family Farm delivers at a price and availability level that makes it a realistic weekly choice for most shoppers. Pasture-raised, 108 square feet per hen. That number is not a typo. 108 square feet per bird, more than 13 times the outdoor space Vital Farms commits to, more than 27 times Happy Eggs standard. These hens are on pasture with real grass, real insects, real foraging behavior that chickens exhibit when given the physical space to behave like chickens. Certified humane, verified across their entire farm network. Third-party audited. Non-GMO project verified. The sourcing network is built around small family farms in the Northeast and Midwest, with transparency about which farms are in the network available directly from the company. Now crack one open. The yolk is the first thing people talk about when they switch to Handsome Brook. Deep orange, it sits up, it holds. The white structures cleanly in two visible layers. The taste is rich and genuinely eggy in a way that gets difficult to describe without sounding like a person who has become unreasonably emotional about a breakfast item. And look, maybe I have, but crack one of these next to a great value egg and tell me I'm wrong. The nutritional profile reflects the pasture access, measurably higher omega-3 content than cage-free and free-range eggs, better vitamin D, better vitamin E. These are not marginal differences. They are the nutritional expression of hens living in conditions that actually support their biology. Handsome Brook Farm eggs are available at Whole Foods, Walmart, yes, Walmart, Kroger, and a growing number of regional retailers. They run between $5 and $7 a dozen, depending on the store and the region. For a product that delivers legitimate pasture-raised conditions, certified humane verification, and a nutritional profile that outperforms every other carton on this list, that price is not a premium. That's just what a real egg costs. This is the one carton in this entire investigation that matched what its label promised at every level we examined. No gap between the front of the carton and the conditions behind it. No certification that raised more questions than it answered. No private equity acquisition reframing what the brand means without updating what the brand says. Handsome Brook Farm is the answer to the question this video has been building toward. It's the one. The one rule. Here's what you do now. You're standing in the egg aisle. You have about 90 seconds before the person behind you loses patience. You don't have time to research the full sourcing history of 12 brands on your phone. You need a framework that works in real time. Here it is. Ignore the front of the carton entirely. The photographs of rolling green fields, the illustrations of happy hens, the words natural and farm fresh and wholesome. None of these terms are regulated in a way that connects them to the actual conditions of the farm. They are graphic design choices. Treat them as such. Flip the carton over. Look for two things. First, look for the words pasture-raised, not cage-free, not free-range, not organic by itself. Pasture-raised means the hens had meaningful outdoor access. It doesn't guarantee anything on its own. Remember, the USDA doesn't regulate this term, which is why you immediately look for the second thing. Second, look for a third-party certification that enforces a specific acreage standard. The two that matter are certified humane and animal welfare approved. Both require documented outdoor space standards and independent auditing with real consequences for non-compliance. These are not rubber stamp certifications. They are enforced standards with farm-level accountability. Pasture-raised plus certified humane or animal welfare approved. That combination is the only thing on the carton that tells you something verifiable about the conditions that produce the egg. Everything else is noise. One more thing. When you get home, run the yolk test. Crack one egg onto a plate. Look at the color, the height, the white structure. Your refrigerator will tell you whether the carton earned what it charged you every single time, and it will do it in about 30 seconds for free. The egg aisle is designed to make this decision feel more complicated than it needs to be. Dozens of labels, dozens of claims, dozens of price points, all suggesting a hierarchy of quality that has been assembled more by marketing budget than by any genuine relationship between what the carton says and what the hen experienced. Now you know how to cut through it. Pasture-raised, third-party certified, orange yolk. That's the whole rule. Everything else is someone else's story about your breakfast.